What's going on, everybody? I'm Cigar Show Tim, and in this video I'm going to cover 10 of the most common terms or phrases used by cigar smokers, because chances are you've got a cigar smoker in your life that you'd like to have a conversation with, or you'd like to buy them a gift and you want to have at least some idea of what you're talking about when you walk in to your local cigar lounge. So let's jump into this list together. Okay, so not too long ago, I was actually talking with one of my relatives, and she said, Tim, I love your content. I'm fascinated by it. I learn something new every time, but I still feel like there's a lot of terminology that I wish I could know, and I wonder if you would do a video that would sort of walk people through some of the basic terms relating to cigars, even though they don't smoke cigars, aren't interested in smoking them themselves, but they want to carry on a conversation or be able to buy a gift and know that they're getting something that that person is going to enjoy. So let's go through these 10 terms, phrases, whatever you want to call them, and let's go through them one by one, and I'll explain what each of them means. So, phrase or word number one, vitola or vitola, depending on how you hear it pronounced. Typically it's pronounced vitola, and vitola simply means the size and shape of the cigar. So you can have a number of different names for them, and the only cigars that are required to have traditional names are Cuban cigars. A lot of those names are still adopted by New World or non-Cuban cigars, and terms like Robusto or Churchill or Toro, any of those different sizes or phrases relate to a specific size or couple different sizes within a very small difference in sizing to each other. So that's what vitola means. So you can hear that there's a Corona or a Robusto or a Churchill or a Toro or a Gordo or a Petite Corona or a Lonsdale or a on and on and on. There are many different names for vitolas of cigars, but simple and easy, vitola just means the size and shape name of that particular cigar. So that's vitola. Term number two, cut. And you may be thinking, Tim, cut, that seems pretty straightforward. Isn't it straightforward? It is and it isn't. So there is what is called a straight cut with a cutter like this, where what it does is it cuts your cigar perfectly straight across along the top of it, which is also known as the cap. Double word bonus. Is known as the cap of the cigar, or the top. And so there is a straight cut. There's also what's known as a V cut, as you can see here. So this cutter here, as you can see, has got a raised edge right there. You can see the shiny part. So that is a V cutter. So it cuts a V-shaped groove in the cap of your cigar, and it's purely a preference thing. There's also what's known as a punch, and a punch essentially just takes a little round cookie cutter, you could relate it to, and it punches into the cap of the cigar. You twist it a few times, you take it out, and there's a nice missing bit of tobacco where the cap was pressed in and removed. So there's a punch also. So those are three of the most common types of cuts for cigars. We have the straight cut, we have the V cut, and we have the punch. Now you can get into other kinds and they get a little fancier, like a cross cut, which is a V cut going across itself. There's a crown cut, which some people say is 2 V cuts. Usually it's 3 cuts or 4 cuts is considered a crown cut. So cut just means which way was the tobacco at the cap or at the top of the cigar trimmed off so you can begin smoking the cigar. Okay, term number 3. This is wrapper. And wrapper is not the cellophane that it comes in, the plasticky-like material. It is not a piece of cedar that is covering that needs to be slid off. It is not a piece of paper that is on the cigar that covers it. The wrapper is the outermost leaf or 2 leaves of the cigar. Now I'll make it simple and I'll say 1 leaf because there are 3 different parts of the cigar when it comes to the composition of the tobacco and how it is rolled. So the wrapper leaf is the outermost tobacco leaf that you see with the naked eye. Whether it be a light creamy colored, whether it be a very dark or black colored, that is the wrapper leaf. And when I mentioned that there would be potentially 2 leaves, there is what's called a barber pole wrapper, which is a lighter and darker colored tobacco leaves, and they are rolled together to make a candy cane or barber pole stripe look on the outside of the cigar. So that is what a wrapper leaf is, and they can be from a number of different countries and regions around the world, from Ecuador to Honduras to Mexico to America to the Dominican Republic to Costa Rica to Colombia and many other places. So that is the wrapper leaf. Next up, we have got the binder, which is the next layer down when you take off the wrapper leaf from a cigar. A binder is exactly that. It binds the bunched up tobacco together to hold it so that you can put the wrapper leaf around the cigar as the finishing product. So the binder is usually a different tobacco leaf than the wrapper, almost always is a different tobacco leaf than the wrapper, and usually is different than what are the fillers or the inside tobacco leaves as well. Sometimes you can have a double binder. It is not very common, but for this case, we'll just go with binder being one tobacco leaf. When it's rolled up, it looks like a little bit of a wrinkled paper towel, if you will. If you were to deconstruct a cigar and take the wrapper off, you would see that it has a little bit of like a wrinkled wrapper around it, and that is the binder leaf that is wrapped around the cigar that was bunched together. And that leads us to the last one, which is the filler tobacco. Now, there are two types of tobacco for filler, but there are three terms that go along with filler tobacco. So filler tobacco can be all for one region. 99% of the time, it will be multiple different regions from within the tobacco growing nations around the globe that all are bunched together as filler tobacco. And so the first term in filler tobacco is short filled. So short filled tobacco is little clippings or chopped up pieces of tobacco. So if you find a very affordably priced, like a $2 cigar, chances are that is a short filled tobacco cigar. It does not have the full length leaf tobacco in the filler. So that's short filler. Next, you have long filler. So long filler is essentially the opposite of what short filler is. Instead of it being all the little clippings and chopped up pieces of tobacco, which is what short filler is, long filler is whole leaves or whole sections of leaves. So the buncher will grab a few different types of tobacco leaves that belong in that specific cigar blend. They will bunch them together, and they'll break off from one end and put them together, and they'll bunch them in their hand to prepare them to wrap them with a binder and then a wrapper leaf. But the long filler tobacco is not any little clippings or shavings. It is long pieces of tobacco that run for most cigars, the entire length or the intended length within the blend of the cigar inside it. So there's short filler, we have long filler, and then there's a mixed filler. Some of them call them Cuban sandwiches. So a mixed filler cigar is exactly what it sounds like. It is a mix between the long filler and the short filler put together. And this is usually done, they call them Cuban sandwiches because they take both and they mix them together and they do all of that. And it usually makes cigars a little more affordable because you get the short filler, which costs much less than the full leaf tobacco for the long filler, and they put them together. And so you have the short filler, the mixed filler, and the long filler tobaccos, and that's what filler tobacco is. And again, it can come from multiple different regions around the globe that all grow tobacco. Indonesia, Dominican Republic, you name it, all over the globe. So that's what the filler tobacco is. Next up, we have the term flavor or flavors. You may hear a cigar enthusiast talk about, oh, I love cigars that have chocolate in them, or that have leather in them, or that have cinnamon or nutmeg or nuttiness or buttery, creaminess or crackers or any of those different things, breadiness, earthiness, woodiness. There are a lot of different terms used to describe the flavor profile of a cigar. And flavors does not mean that it is artificially flavored tobacco. A premium hand-rolled cigar has no additives, no chemicals, nothing added to it, just the pure tobacco that is grown, harvested, fermented, and then rolled into cigars. So flavors is just your memory translating what you are sensing on your tongue and on your palate as the flavor profile of it, because flavors are just memories of what you've eaten before. So I could say to you, imagine grandma's chocolate chip cookies and you could go, oh, I remember what that smells like and what that tastes like. And it's because you remember what the taste and the flavor profile of that cookie is. It doesn't mean that you are right now eating a chocolate chip cookie from, your grandma, but you can identify what that flavor profile was. Same thing in cigars. And this is something that takes a while to pick up and identify and to fine tune, especially when starting out in cigars, is picking up flavor notes in them. And so if you retrohale, which is another term, if you retrohale your cigars, then what you're doing is you're actually allowing the smoke to pass through 80% of your taste buds, which are in your nasal cavity. And all those taste buds will then translate into your brain something familiar that you have smelled before or eaten before. So whether you have smelled it or tasted it before, it gets stuck in your memory bank, and that's what the flavor notes in a cigar help remember or help recall, is those flavor profile notes that you've experienced before. So that's flavor. The next term is infused, and flavor and infused by a brand new cigar smoker will get used erroneously. They'll cross them. They'll go back and forth, and they'll say, oh yeah, it's a flavored cigar, or oh yeah, it's a infused cigar. So an infused cigar is just that. It's infused with flavoring. Now it can be natural flavors, it can be artificial syrups and flavors, it can be a number of different things, but that tobacco in that cigar, or that cigar specifically, has an infusion process that takes place, usually with like essential oils, natural oils, in the tobacco leaves, that then allow them to absorb that flavor note, that infusion flavor note. So there's a difference between flavor notes and an infused cigar. So if you say, oh yeah, they only smoke flavored cigars, that's actually not a valid term in the cigar industry. It's, oh, they only smoke infused cigars, because it is infused. It is not, no tobacco is flavored. It is just infused with different oils that give it flavor notes. So a little bit confusing, and a lot of people get those mixed up, but that's the difference between a flavor note and an infused cigar. Next term is humidor, and this one is pretty straightforward. Humidor just means a case, a box, a container of some sort that holds your cigars and helps them maintain humidity. So most people will start out with what's called a desktop humidor, and the wooden boxes, the acrylic boxes, they sit up on your desk. You've got 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 cigars in them, and you put in either humidification beads or packets or whatever you may use, and it helps maintain the humidity in your cigars. So a humidor is just that. It is basically a container. You don't even want to say box, because box suggests that it's wood, but a container that holds your cigars and stores them in as much of an airtight seal as possible, so that you can continue to have them stay at the right relative humidity and temperature that helps cigars not go bad or dry out. So that is what a humidor is. Now there are a number of different kinds. Like I mentioned, there's desktop ones, there's travel ones, there's what's called, this isn't really a humidor, but it's a cigar case. This is a 4-finger cigar case because it holds 4 cigars. There are acrylic ones, there are all glass ones, there are desktop standing up ones, so vertical desktop ones, there are cigar cabinets, there are humidors that are thermoelectric, so they're like a mini refrigerator. There are large cabinet style ones. There are a number of different types of humidors that exist. When you walk into your local cigar lounge, you'll walk into their humidor, which for them is a walk-in room that has active humidification, and it is where all of their cigars are stored, but it is sealed so that the humidity stays inside and doesn't come out. So a humidor can be anything from a small case that holds 3 cigars or 1 cigar even, all the way up to a large walk-in humidor. And basically what it means is it is a container or a space that you store and hold your cigars so that they can maintain temperature and humidity. So that's another term. Okay, number 9. And this term is one that gets mixed up and interchanged with the 10th term. So body, the body of a cigar. Now, the body of a cigar usually refers to the depth of flavoring. So you can have a full body cigar which has very deep, rich flavor profiles and is very rich and dessert-like and all those different things. And you can also have a very mild-bodied cigar where it's very one note, very simple in the flavor profile, and doesn't provide much depth or variance in the different flavor notes that you pick up as you're smoking that cigar. So that's the body of the cigar. So is how limited or deep or diverse are the flavors in that cigar. And usually a richer or more full-bodied cigar tends to have a little more fuller smoke and tends to have a little more of a well-rounded balance of flavor. And a mild-bodied cigar tends to be a little bit lighter on the smoke and tends to be very simplistic in its flavor profile. Doesn't make it bad, it's just very simplistic. Which leads us to our 10th phrase in the top 10 terms for cigar smoking for non-cigar smokers. And this 10th one is strength. So the strength of a cigar. People get body and strength mixed up, and they do it all the time. I've had multiple conversations with people where they say, oh, you know, I had a full-bodied cigar and it was just, wow, it was too much for me. It was too strong. It made me sick. And that's not accurate. So strength is the amount of really effect that you feel from nicotine in that cigar. Now again, cigars aren't inhaled into your lungs, so it's not like a cigarette in terms of nicotine absorption and things like that. But there is nicotine in a cigar, and so the strength of the cigar usually refers to how much you feel the effects of that nicotine in that cigar. So a mild strength cigar, you're not going to notice anything different at all. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to pick up the flavor notes that are in it, and you're going to enjoy that experience, whether it be more of a mild-bodied or medium-bodied cigar. A cigar that is full strength, and so it's mild strength, medium strength, and full strength. They're usually the three terms that go along with the strength of a cigar. A medium strength will be one where you go, okay, yeah, I can tell that, you know what, I might need to eat a little piece of chocolate or, you know, drink a soda, a Coke, whatever it may be, while enjoying that cigar because you need a little bit of sugar in your system. A full strength cigar is one where if you don't have a full meal before, or you're not used to cigars and you go straight to a full strength one, it can make you nauseous and it can make you sick. There are countless stories of people that have tried cigars and they tried to show off for their buddies or whatever it may be at the lounge or at a bachelor party, and they're smoking a cigar, and half an hour later they're vomiting because the strength of the cigar was too much for them, and their body either wasn't acclimated to the amount of nicotine that cigar allows to go into your body, or they just hadn't built up a tolerance and they just couldn't handle it, period, whatsoever. And so that's what strength of a cigar is. So when you see a darker colored cigar wrapper, that doesn't mean it's a strong cigar, but many times it does. When you see a lighter colored or a lighter wrapped cigar, it usually means that it is a more mild strength cigar, but it doesn't always mean that either, because the tobacco that's inside, either as the binder or the fillers, two terms that you've just learned, has an impact on the overall strength of that cigar. So I hope this helps. I'm going to be doing some more videos, so stay tuned to the channel and see some other terms and some different approaches and some different vernacular and different elements of the cigar smoking process, enjoying cigars, all those different things that go into it. But if you liked this video, leave a comment down below. Did you learn something new? Did you get an ability now to go to a cigar lounge and pick up a cigar in the humidor and go, okay, is this a mild strength or a full strength cigar? And know that the tobacconist there is going to be able to understand what you're asking. Or maybe you just learned some different vocabulary so that you can go and speak to a friend or a relative and carry on a conversation and get to learn a little bit more about their cigar journey. Put some comments down below. I'd love to know your take on it. If you've been around cigars for a number of years, or you're new in your journey, or whatever it may be, put a comment down below of something you'd like to know or something that you got confused on when you started your cigar journey. I hope this helps, and stay tuned to the channel because there are going to be more videos like this of Cigar 101, cigar you know, understanding cigars, all those different things that are coming to the channel. So I hope you will come back and rejoin for one of those videos. But as I say every time, whether you're a cigar enthusiast or not, I say enjoy your cigar journey, everybody. I'm Cigar Show Tim. As always, I'll see you.